And again, we're going to have a conversation about happiness, but a lot of other emotions too. Now again, we all want to be happy. I would label myself as an optimist. I look at the bright side of everything and everyone, and I enjoy having fun. If you've ever had me as a teacher, you know that I'm pretty serious and I get annoyed when you get distracted, but I also get distracted and want to hide in the closet or put pencils in the ceiling or make paper airplanes. And that doesn't happen multiple times a week, only every now and again, right? But I love joking around and having a good time and just playing around. But as many of you know, school cannot always be fun. I know this to be true. I love everything about school except for what thing? Let's see if anyone can guess. No, I love teaching. Guys, it's grading. Come on, that was an easy answer. I'm never going to grade any of your papers ever again. This is what you all know to be true. There's a lot of work and stress that goes into school, and for me, that's the grading part. For you, it's actually giving me the things that you want me to grade, and then I never do. But nonetheless, we can't always be happy in most moments in life. We want to try to find those little spots of happiness, but mixed in there are a lot of other emotions too, especially a lot of negative ones. As much as we all want to be happy, being happy all the time simply is impossible. Now, many of you would describe me as a chill guy, but when I was in high school and early college, I was all over the place emotionally. And my wife is probably going to nod her head throughout this sermon because she knows the truth. My senior year in high school was pretty normal on the outside, right? But within, I was collapsing. By the end of the year, I had separated from my entire friend group. In the group chat, I was like, hey guys, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. I literally said that. It didn't go over well. That didn't work out. I distanced myself from my parents. I quit my job working on grounds here and then went to go work at some Trinity cafe place for a little bit. And I enrolled at UNF to get away from Trinity. Most of all, I was doubting my salvation and questioning if I even want to be a part of this Christianity thing. I was dealing with a lot of emotions, and I didn't want anyone else to know. I hid behind this outward appearance of looking like I was doing okay, but on the inside, I was experiencing a lot of negative emotions. I tried to find happiness in things that most young adults do. Trying to be a good employee, trying to be a good student, trying to find some new friends. But the truth was that most of what I was finding on the inside was not what it looked like on the outside. Maybe I could find it in TV shows like The Office or Parks and Rec. Maybe for a little bit, but not for long. I tried to find it in new coworkers and classmates, but none of that helped. Again, on the outside, everything looked great. Perfect church attendance, all A's in school, excellent work performance, lots of friends. But no one in my life, not a single person, knew the true emotions that were happening within. I felt like I was lost, I was drowning, I was empty, and I had no hope. So what could I do to deal with these emotions? I don't know. The truth is, no matter how hard we try to ignore those emotions, eventually they're going to show up again. So how do we navigate these complex feelings? Well, I can give you my opinion, but that's not worth anything at all. So let's look at some better truth in what I think. Let's look at Matthew 5:4. Now this is from a passage in Matthew in which Jesus is speaking. And he says these words that many of you have heard time and time again. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hold on, why is it a good thing for me to be mourning? Why is it a good thing for me to be crying? Blessed in some translations is written as happy, but how am I supposed to be happy and crying at the same time? One time when I wore glasses and looked like a little bit more of a nerd than I look like now, they were the bendy ones that bent in the middle, and I thought to myself, it'd be really cool to go to parties and bend them in the middle. And I was like 11 or 12 or something, and I was like, look guys, look at this, and I was bending these glasses, and they snapped in half. I thought it was hilarious until my dad said, well, I guess you can't play the new PS3 that we just got you guys. And then I started tearing up a little bit, but still laughing at the same time. So I was experiencing laughing and crying, and it was just really awkward, and everyone else there was like, all right, I don't want to be here anymore. They're really uncomfortable. And here in this verse, it seems confusing, right? Jesus saying crying and mourning is a good thing? Well, the original Greek word here for blessed is makarios. It translates to mean blessed and happy, but in the sense of being fortunate or well off. So it's not that you're always going to have a smile on your face in every situation that you're in, but you're going to be okay. Someone's going to come alongside you and comfort you despite the situations and the emotions that you're feeling. God is that comforter even in our mourning, and even if we have tears in our face, we have hope in our hearts because he's there to comfort us. Let's look at another passage. This one's longer, so bear with me. But in this next passage from Psalm 30, I've bolded some words because they're important. Now, in this passage, we have David, King David himself. He's an emotional dude. He's gone through a lot of things, and he's experiencing some very intense emotions here. Let's look at this together. He says in the beginning, I will extol thee. It's a big fancy word for praise. O Lord, for thou hast lifted me up and hast not made my foes to rejoice. O Lord, my God, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me. O Lord, thou hast brought up my soul from the grave. Thou hast kept me alive, that I should not go down to the pit of hell. Sing unto the Lord. Oh, so now we're crying, but then we're also singing, thanking God for being in this terrible place. O ye saints of his, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holiness. For his anger endureth but a moment, and his favor is life. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh from the morning. And he goes on, in my prosperity, in my richness, I said this, man, I'll never be moved. Lord, by thy favor thou hast made my mountain to stand strong. Thou didst hide my face, and I was troubled. I cried unto thee, O Lord, and unto the Lord I made supplication. What profit is there in my blood when I go down to the pit? Shall the dust praise thee? Shall it declare thy truth? Hear, O Lord, and have mercy upon me. Lord, be thou my helper. Thou hast turned me my mourning into dancing. Thou hast put up my sackcloth and girded me, clothed me with gladness. And to that end, my glory may sing praise to thee and not be silent, O Lord, my God. I will give thanks unto thee forever. Now, here's what David is saying. I know that was a long piece of reading, and most of you are like, man, I've already zoned this guy out because I hear him yapping every single day at the beginning, at the middle, and the end of class. But here's the truth. David is experiencing multiple different types of emotions here. He's experiencing mourning, but also dancing. He's crying and weeping, but then he's also praising and singing. He's having a great time and then a bad time, back and forth and up and down, and many of you experience exactly that. You feel like, man, I go to school and I start the day kind of low because it's first hour, then something really great happens to me, and something bad happens. You go up and down, up and down. Well, where's the equilibrium? How do we find this happy middle in all of these complex emotions? Should I push these emotions down? Should I just express every single one of them as they come, and every single hour of my day I'm happy and then sad, and then happy and then sad, and then angry, and then confused and then anxious? Well, no. Here's the truth about emotions, as we've learned here in these scriptures. Like David, you are free to feel. Like David, you can express these emotions in a way that is healthy. Now, God made emotions for us to express to others, not to hide or to deal with alone. And let me give you 3 truths to remember about feelings, about emotions. First of all, feelings are natural. Right? They are something that is God-given. That might come as a surprise to you, but emotions are something that God wants every one of you to have. All the guys out here are like, not me. I'm not supposed to have all the emotions. I'm only supposed to have like 3 of them, like happy and sad and angry. But I don't show the sadness one most of the time. I just got to push that one down. Now, God gave us every single one of these emotions to experience and to express to other people. He wants us to express these emotions in a way that is healthy. As we saw in the biblical passages above, David and Jesus, they don't talk about emotions as if they're a sin. They don't talk about emotions as if there's something that we should overcome. Right? We're not overcoming our sadness. We're not overcoming our anxiety or depression. No, we're utilizing those in our pursuit of God. In Matthew 5:4, Jesus calls those who mourn or cry blessed. Hey, if you cry, you are well off. You're accepted as part of my family because I'm going to come and I'm going to comfort you. God doesn't say, hey, sinful are those who mourn. No, you're blessed. You're well off. In Psalm 30, David does not reject his negative feelings as wrong. He recognizes that they're real and that they are natural parts of God's world. And David doesn't avoid them. He just puts them out there for all the world to see for all of eternity. Another example from scripture is John 16:33. In this passage, Jesus says, these things I've spoken unto you, that you might have peace. In the world, you're going to have troubles. Tribulation is the word in the King James Version. But be of good cheer, I have overcome the world.
So God doesn't say, hey, you're going to always be happy in life. No, he doesn't say you're always going to have peace. He says you might have peace. But what you're actually going to have all the time is trouble. You're always going to go to class and they're going to give you something to do, right? You can always expect that at school. You're going to go home and there's going to be some argument with your family. You're going to go to practice. There's going to be some disagreement between you and a coach or you and a teammate. There's going to be troubles everywhere in life. We can't avoid them because they're a part of this world. But again, Jesus says, be of good cheer, find some hope. I've overcome that and I'm going to be with you. The truth is that all of these emotions are parts of the world that God wants to use to redeem the world. Now, at this moment, some of you are like, man, I'm feeling some of these emotions right now. I'm kind of anxious about thinking about them, but I don't know how to put these into words. I don't really know many big words about what emotions I'm feeling. Well, we have a little bit of an interactive here. On the screen is what's called a feelings wheel. It's color-coded because, well, we like colorful things. But here, let me tell you how you can utilize this wheel. If you look at the center of this wheel, there are some pretty basic words. Sadness, being scared, being disgusted, being angry. We can all identify, those words. We've read them back in first grade, I hope. But if you choose the emotion that you're feeling in this moment or in another moment and go to that next outer level, it's going to kind of narrow it down into some more specific words. Last week I was scared, so I'm going to choose that little purple one there at the top. And then we have these other words: fearful, insecure, anxious, rejected, weak, or nervous. Right now I can start to narrow down the way that I'm feeling. Last week I was anxious. Let's say that. Yeah, last week I was very anxious, so now I've narrowed it down. And then I look closer in that anxious box, in that final circle, and we've got worried and overwhelmed. I owe some very hard workers a lot of money because they were fixing the floors in my house. And I still owe them a lot of that money, so I'm very overwhelmed with having to make those payments. And I'm very worried that I'm not going to pay him the time he wants. I'll pay him eventually, but I'm worried about that payment, and that's exactly how I was feeling last week. Now, I would just say then, and I'm feeling kind of anxious. But now I can actually say, man, I'm overwhelmed. There's something that's bigger than me that I can't handle on my own, and I need some help. And that's what this feeling wheel is supposed to do. This feeling wheel is not supposed to overwhelm you. It's not supposed to say, man, I'm in this place and I don't know how to get out of it. This feeling wheel is a way for you to talk to other people, and for those people to lead you in the right direction for using those emotions to go towards God. So this feeling wheel is a way to put our emotions into words, but also know that every single one of those emotions is something that's natural and God-given. God made us to experience every one of those emotions, even the anger, even the surprise or the confusion, even the disgust. He made us to experience those emotions. The next point, emotions are temporary. They're not here forever. Most of you probably are experiencing one of these emotions right now. And you might think, man, I'm really happy to be in this state. I'm in a great place right now. Others of you are not happy with the emotions that you're experiencing. You're like, I don't know if I want to keep on going this way. If I go this way any longer, I'm going to burst and something bad is going to happen. And that's fine, because all emotions are temporary, the good and the bad. Again, if we go back to these verses, Matthew 5:4 says, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Right? Once you're comforted, you're no longer mourning. So that mourning of emotion is temporary. It will soon be replaced by comfort. Look at Psalm 30, verse 5. His anger endureth for a moment. So even God himself experiences emotions. And he's angry at us sometimes. A lot of the time. Probably all the time. But it's only for a moment. His anger endures or only goes on for a moment. And then in his favor, in his love for you, is life. Weeping may last the night. Maybe you cried all night last night and you didn't get any sleep. And your teachers were like, oh, we need to stay awake while we're reading in class. No, it's okay, because in the morning, there is joy. In the morning, it is time to have joy once again. Those emotions will not last. Another verse is Ecclesiastes 3:4, where the writer here says, a time to weep and a time to laugh. There is a time to mourn and a time to dance. So in everything, there is a season. There's a start that there's an end. The same is true for all of your emotions. Some of you might be facing some emotions that you don't feel like someone else can help you with. Well, the truth is someone else can, and that emotion is not forever. That depression isn't forever. Unfortunately, the happiness is not forever either. And the sooner that we can understand that, the sooner that we can run back to God. So if you feel like you're stuck in the middle of that anxiety, that depression, that anger, or other emotions that feel like you just can't shake them off, know that these feelings are temporary. They're not here forever. God has promised that these emotions will change, and He's going to use them to draw near to you. The third point here, feelings are meant to be shared. If you're in my classes right now, last week I had everyone do a whole writing response about whether it's right or wrong to mask your emotions. I did not plan that out in conjunction with this sermon tonight. Honestly, at that point, I kind of forgot that I was preaching tonight. But it really works out because I got to see some of your responses about whether it's a good thing to hide your emotions behind a mask, behind an outward appearance of being okay, or if it's something that should be expressed. And I got some interesting responses. I'm not going to actually read any of those because, well, half of my students probably didn't turn it in. But that's okay because I'm probably going to grade them in like July or something. Nonetheless, here's what is true about emotions. We all want to express them, but sometimes we don't express them in the right way, and we feel bad about that. No one wants that friend that's always trauma dumping, right? You know that you're going to go to your lunch table, and this person's going to tell you all about their trauma and their difficulty, and it just wears you down. You feel like, I don't know if this is the right thing. And then we feel like, I don't want anyone else to know these emotions. Why should I share them with other people? Well, again, let's look at some scriptures that we've already read. In Psalm 30, David feels free to express his emotions openly, right? He's not saying, hey, I'm dealing with some stuff, but I'm doing all right. It's not like God looks at David and says, hey, how you doing? He says, doing fine, God. No, David's like, if I'm honest, God, you know what? I feel like I'm mourning a lot. I'm crying a whole lot, God. And sometimes I praise you, and sometimes I'm happy and dancing, but the truth is, God, I'm not doing okay. And we should do something along those lines. Now, I've got a little bit of an illustration here. I'm going to have my friends Josh and Jeffrey come up and help me with this. Now, while they're walking up and getting the last part of my illustration, which is over here in the seats, by the way, I've got right here a balloon. Now, many of us know what happens if a balloon fills up with too much air. I hope you like ASMR, but this balloon is a lot like our own souls, our own spirits, right? We hold these emotions in, and we think we can hold it for a little bit. Maybe we can hold it for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of years, but eventually, those emotions are going to pop. Right? The more emotions we try to build up in our own lives, eventually it's going to come out in a way that is unhealthy. Now, another thing that people do, again, is to build up these emotions. Right? We build up these emotions and then we're like, I've got to tell someone about it. But I don't even know where it went. That's exactly the point. These emotions kind of go all over the place. We feel like they're happy and they're sad, and the people that we tell them to are like, I don't know what to do about this. And by the end of you trauma dumping or telling all your emotions to someone, you're in exactly the same place as before, right? You told all these emotions, but your life is no better or no worse because of it. You just got them out, but it hasn't led you anywhere. So what should we do with emotions, right? If emotions are meant to be shared, why can't I just share them freely? Well, what we should do with emotions is direct them. All right, I've got these lovely volunteers here who are going to hold this line taut. I know. Give them a quick hand before this illustration eventually doesn't work. We'll see. So, what we have here is a balloon on a string. Simple enough. These are our emotions, right? Don't bounce it around too much. That could make it all break. These emotions are all building up inside this balloon, and we need to share them. But what this string right here is the path to God. The right way to share emotions is in such a way that it's leading us back towards God. When David shares his emotions in Psalm 30, he's not just saying, man, I'm anxious and tired. He says, you know what, God? These emotions are going to lead me back to you. These emotions are all leading me to you. The happiness
is leading me to praise you. The anxiety is leading me to run to you and ask for help. The depression is leading me to run directly to you. And this pathway here to God is what we should be looking for in all of our emotions. Not throwing them out there and letting it run wild, hurting people in the process sometimes, but guiding us back to God. Thank you guys. Give them another hand. So, expressing our emotions in a healthy manner and with compassionate Christ followers allows us to get closer to God because of our feelings, right? To tell you the end of my original story, to tell you the end of it, I was only at UNF for one semester. God placed some frustrating roadblocks in my path to keep me grounded in my relationships, right? I was trying to get away from God. I was trying to get away from my parents and from my friends. I was trying to get away from really all the emotions I was feeling inside that I was uncertain about. And I wasn't telling anyone about them. But God humbled me. He said, you know what? Your car is not going to work, so you're going to have to ride the public bus system for 2 hours one way to UNF and back, so 4 hours round trip. So every day I had to ride the public bus system with, I don't know, some crackheads for like 4 hours. That was basically what I was doing every day. No, really, some guy told me that he had, never mind, that's a bad story, I can't tell you that one yet. Ask me afterwards. Some things were offered that I did not accept. Nonetheless, right, that was pretty humbling. I did not want to be in that situation, and God said, well, you're not the one that's in control. I couldn't even get out of my house, and I couldn't get out of my job. I was working at the cafe. I was one of the first employees hired there. And my dad said, if you want to move out of my house, you got to get a job on that side of town. Well, I applied to a ton of jobs, and no one accepted me. So I was stuck, man, at a Christian-centric cafe, a Christ-centered cafe in which there were loving people all around me. Dang it. No, it was great for me because even though I was anxious on the inside, there were people around me that were like that string. They were saying, hey, we're willing to listen to those emotions and to guide you back to God. I had coworkers, there were college professors, there were friends that would come to the cafe and they would sit and they would listen and they would give me advice that was ultimately guiding me in my emotions to God. Being stuck in my parents' house was good because I was forced in a great way to, again, reconcile with my parents, to make things right. And still to this day, I'm thankful that my parents are a major part of my life because everything that I have is because of their leadership and their guidance, again, like that balloon, pushing me back to God. Now, what does this mean for you? What does this mean for every one of you? I hope none of you have to ride the public bus system at any point in your life. I would not recommend it. It is inexpensive, though, I will say that. Well, here are 3 landing points that every one of you can apply to your life. First of all, because emotions are natural, be thankful for them. Right? Sometimes we're not thankful for the emotions that we face. Sometimes we say, I don't really like this anxiety that I'm feeling. I don't really like the fact that I'm scared in this moment. I don't know what to do about applying for colleges next year. I don't really know what to do about trying out for this team that I didn't make last year. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about these friends that keep making fun of me. Man, I'm getting so angry at that person in my class that just keeps on getting onto my every last nerve. I don't know what to do with these emotions. Well, be thankful for them. God gave those emotions to you because he wants to redeem you and save you through those emotions. So don't reject the emotions. Be thankful for them. Another thing that you can do, because emotions are temporary, because they're only here for a short time, trust God when they change. Not if they change, when they change. We know that our emotions are going to change. Right now, I'm doing okay. Like 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, I was shaking behind those curtains over there. Guess what? Those emotions changed as soon as I got into the rhythm of speaking up here. I'm doing okay now. Still a little shaky, but I'm doing all right. The emotions changed. The same is true for you. You're going to experience good emotions and bad emotions, or bad emotions and worse emotions. But know that those emotions are going to change, and God is in every one of them. Like he promises in Matthew 5, he is going to comfort you in all of those emotions. If you're happy, like David was sometimes, if you're at the pinnacle of life, praise him. Thank you, God, for this emotion. But still recognize in the back of your mind that eventually there's going to be hard times too. If you're in those hard times, trust God with them. God, I'm still going to praise you, and I know that you've got me. Maybe tonight there's crying and mourning, but tomorrow there will be joy. Tomorrow there will be new emotions that you're going to work through. Lastly, because emotions are meant to be shared, share them with someone you trust. Now, I'm going to walk down here because some of you are still distracted, but that's great because the people you're talking to are likely the people that you trust, right? You're not sitting next to people that you don't care about. I mean, except for those couple of you that are sitting alone, which, sorry, Tyler. Someone sit next to him, come for you eventually. But no, every one of you has someone in your life that you trust. Maybe they're here tonight, maybe they're not. Maybe you do trust your parents. Maybe you're not quite there yet. Maybe you trust your friends. Maybe your friends are just someone that you do a sport with, and you don't really know if you can open up to them. Well, again, we know that emotions are meant to be shared, so find someone that's going to be like that string and point your emotions and you back to God. Maybe that's your small group leader. And as we go to small groups in a second, it's a time for you to use that feelings wheel to express some of those emotions. I'll tell you that for a guy that says he doesn't like to express emotions, but does it quite a bit, it's really awkward the first time that you do it. But the second time it gets easier. And the third time it gets easier then. And I've been in small groups before with other people that were younger, older than me, and I've told them like the deepest of struggles and sins in my life. And they loved me and said, hey, it's okay. I deal with that too. That emotion that you're feeling is fine. I've been there before. Maybe not the exact situation, but sometimes the exact situation. And so look for the people in your life that are willing to point you back to God. Look for people that you can share these emotions with in a healthy way. Don't be a trauma dumper. Be a God seeker. I'm going to leave you with this. Now, if you are experiencing a bunch of different emotions, you are free to feel every one of those emotions. God made you to experience them. They're temporary, but ultimately He wants to use them to point you back to Him. So, what are you going to do about it tonight? What are you going to do about it tomorrow? What are you going to do about it for the rest of your lives? Feel them and let them point them back to God. Lord, I thank you for these students.